Just a quick little reminder, I haven't signed the guest book. Please sign it for me. I can scan that thing myself. You don't have to write your address. Stop whenever you were here. Okay.
Welcome to Living Waters. We are so honored to be able to welcome you for this celebration of life. And as many of you have, as you come in, have said and told stories about our wonderful friend Bill and the life that he had in 34 short years. And so it's good for us to be together, to give thanks for his life, to hear the stories of one another, and to be lifted up in this time. For those of you in the sanctuary, there is live streaming of the service happening down the hallway in the chapel and the fellowship hall. If you want a place to sit, that's a little bit more comfortable, please by all means make your way down the hall. Otherwise, if you feel like you could get a little bit closer in the sanctuary and offer space for some of those that are standing, like there's a whole row right here behind the Kampa family. I'm pretty sure they don't bite. It did say reserved. It was reserved for you. Just standing list. There we go. Come and sit in this row to have opportunity. The service is one of tributes and storytelling. There will be time for prayer as well. And then following the service, there will be time for food and fellowship and hopefully more laughter than tears. And so please stick around and join us for that. With that being said, let us begin in prayer. Loving God, we come together today with hearts full of many emotions: grief, gratitude, sorrow, and love. We thank you for the gift of Bill's life, for all the ways he touched us, and for the love that continues to live in us through him. Be present with us in this time of remembering. Surround us with your peace. Hold us close in your comfort. And remind us that nothing, not even death, can separate us from your love in Christ Jesus. Bless this gathering, O Lord, that our stories, our tears, and our laughter may be signs of the love that endures forever. Amen. I want to invite Nicole forward for the first word. Yeah, oh, well, it's coming in the back there.
Oh, this is upsetting. Oops. Hey. I guess I'll leave it uncustomized. You want a physicist to speak
Oh. Yes?
This is called, you want a physicist to speak at your funeral. I am 3 minutes. You want a physicist to speak at your funeral. Sorry, I can't believe I said that. Okay. You want the physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy, so they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind your mother about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy is created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your wife to know that all your energy, every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of every particle that was her beloved husband remains with her in this world. You want the physicist to tell your weeping family that amid the energies of the cosmos, you gave as good as you got. Sorry, no, that was really bad. And at one point, you'd hope that the physicist would step down from the pulpit and walk to your broken-hearted family there in the pew and tell them that all the photons that ever bounced off your face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by your smile, by the touch of your hair, hundreds of trillions of particles, have raced off you like children, their ways forever changed by you. May the physicists let your family know that all the photons that bounced from you were gathered in the particle detectors that are their eyes, that those photons created within them constellations of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind the congregation of how much of all of our energy is given off as heat. There may be a few fanning themselves with their programs, as they say it. And he will tell them that the warmth that flowed through you in life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue in the heat of our own lives. You'll want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that they need not have faith. Let them know that they can measure, that scientists have measured precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time. You can hope your family will examine the evidence and satisfy themselves that the science is sound and that they'll be comforted to know your energy is still around. According to the law of conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You are just less orderly.
At this time, I'd like to invite Sam and Glenn forward to share.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam Soderman and I'm a friend of Bill's. I would like to begin by thanking everyone for being here this afternoon to celebrate Bill's life. Your presence here is a reflection of the impact he has on all of our lives. Bill's friendship has been a constant in my life for longer than it hasn't. We first officially met almost 20 years ago in high school when Nicole and him started dating. At the time, Bill was just my best friend's tall and lanky, slightly emo skateboarder boyfriend. I never would have guessed then that years later, after countless accounting study sessions in college, numerous hours spent mountain biking and rock climbing, long conversations about nothing and everything, that he would become one of my closest friends. There wasn't much that Bill and I didn't have in common. Our friendship was built by our shared interests of rock climbing, music, mountain biking, SpongeBob, snowboarding, the new lease accounting standard ASC 842, hiking, and photography, just to name a few. That being said, there were plenty of things that Bill loved that I knew nothing about. When he would start explaining something he was interested in, he would often preface it by saying he wasn't an expert, and then go on to describe something in such technical detail that it was clear he was definitely an expert at said thing. Case in point was his Volkswagen Westfalia. His beloved van required a lot of maintenance. He did almost all the repairs and renovations himself, replacing gas lines, the dashboard, various belts, and honestly who knows what else, since there was a seemingly never-ending list of to-dos with that van. He would also talk about his ultralight backpacking gear, and all the ways to shave off weight from his pack. From cutting his toothbrush in half to removing unnecessary fabrics from straps and zippers, he said there was always somewhere you could save an ounce from your backpack. But most importantly, there were the things Bill shared with me quietly and unknowingly. He showed me the importance of forgiveness, but not in a traditional sense, in a way where it required no second thought, because to even worry about forgiveness was a waste of time. He taught me how to live in the moment and to enjoy all adventures, whether big ones or mundane ones, and to be authentically goofy on top of it all. Bill was nothing short of an expert in these areas. With a contagious smile and his silly sense of humor, Bill brought light and laughter into every room he walked into. He carried a kindness that made everyone feel seen and valued. He listened deeply and cared in a way that truly made you feel understood. Even if we didn't always recognize it, Bill shaped our lives in these quiet, unexpected ways. And I think that lasting influence is what connects all of us here today. His light will continue to guide us forever. I would like to close with sharing this poem from Josie Balka. They say you are who you surround yourself with. Well, thank God for that. Because if that's the case, I'm kind, in a way that takes minimal effort. I'm honest in a way that doesn't hurt people, and I'm a really good friend. If that's the case, then I'm the same as the people I love. I'm bold, and I'm funny and over the top a lot of the time, but only in the best of ways. I must be endlessly inspiring and always ready to help. If what they say is true, and I have slowly taken on little pieces of my people, so they're even remotely ingrained in me, that means I'm loyal and supportive and witty. I'm always there in the same way that they are always there. They say you become who you surround yourself with, and I'm surrounded by people who I find easier to love than I find loving myself. But I guess it's more of a mirror than a window, isn't it? And when I think about it like that, all I can say is, thank God for that. Thank God for that. Rest well, Bill. The moon and the stars may have gained your light. But that light will forever shine for us. We love you and we miss you eternally. Thanks.
Hello there. Got no idea that my daughter-in-law was a physicist. That made a lot of sense. My name is Glenn Kampa, it says so. I'm Bill's dad, and I wrote down like a lot of bullet points, like 100 of them, and they're not in any particular order, so there's really no flow to this. So hopefully you guys can make sense of it in your own way later on. Thanks so much for coming here. For those of you who participated in the Twin Cities Brain Tumor 5K yesterday, thanks so much for your generous support. Thanks so much for your generous support. You over there. Yeah. No, it turned out much bigger than we ever expected it to be. Donations support brain tumor research, outreach programs to support families affected by brain tumors who need assistance. Because we care, our team, as of during the race yesterday, we had over 150 people registered and raised close to $20,000. During Bill's care, special thanks to the so many families that made meals and stopped by. Many became regulars. We had Guitar Steve who frequented us. In fact, we had neighbors that would like to know when Steve would come over to hear him play. And we had so many that I will make every effort to thank you personally. This awesome support helped Bill and Nicole and provided some laughter and uplifting spirits. Bill faced his diagnosis and treatment with amazing courage. His wife Nicole provided extraordinary care and comfort the last couple of months, never or rarely ever leaving his side. Bill loved Big Ten subs, ranchero cheesesteaks, McDonald's breakfast burritos. So these were like bullets I was putting on, you know? And so I had like stick shift. It meant he never drove a car with an automatic transmission. All of his vehicles had stick shift. Yeah. Build up comedy. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan, but his favorite Seinfeld is when George's wallet exploded. After he put his little slip of paper for 20% off for guitar lessons, it exploded. He recommended Napoleon Dynamite. We went in and we did a week-long analysis of that low-budget comedy that was very deep. Bill and his brother Nick would frequently do things. They would see music or comedy shows or rock climb. Bill became an avid bowler After his sister-in-law Amanda bought a ball at a garage sale a couple years ago, he developed to have a perfect slow hook. Bill loved the outdoors. He dressed the part as a fashion statement. Could have been a model for REI. When he came up to the lake, he'd always either camp or bring a hammock, or his Pride VW camper 1987 Westfeller camper with a 1.9 liter 83 horsepower. It was kind of an unusual Dr. Seuss looking concoction. You slept on the roof. It was funny to hear about his maiden voyage in western Wisconsin, leaving work on a Friday afternoon and coming into the St. Croix Valley, approaching Hudson. And I don't know if you've ever driven through there, but it's about a 10-lane wide I-94 corridor, and everybody seems to be going 70 miles plus. I mean, to me, it's a white knuckle drive. So he took his Westby and he gained momentum for that mile and a half coming down into the St. Croix Valley. And because he went up the Hudson side and full speed going 25 miles an hour. Yeah. On the Westby, I think that's what they call it. I don't know why, but that's his camper. I think he enjoyed working on it as much as driving or camping. In fact, he was a pretty good backyard mechanic and good with tools, did a lot of all sorts of woodworking projects. Bill loved going out west, hiking in the rugged terrain and rock climbing. Bill and Nicole made lots of trips out west to see their friends Sam and Troy in Utah and extended family in the Ormonts in Southern California and Seattle. Bill had a 10-year career with an accounting firm, PWB, which became I. Bailey. His sister Corey also worked there, though they were in different circles. It was good to hear from him that she had a great reputation. That's always good to hear about your daughter. Yeah. Bill always looked up to his sister. And just as a note, it's always an awesome thing to witness as a parent, to see your adult children enjoying spending time together. Real young Bill, this is where it's just kind of plugged in anywhere, I thought. At the time he was 2, he had a bit of an edge to him. When you asked him to do something he didn't want to do, he was a beast. And he knew how to push his older brother and sister's buttons, especially knowing that they weren't allowed to retaliate. Yeah. We got our family dog, Bessie Truman, as a puppy when Bill was 2. Bessie had real sharp puppy teeth and loved to attack people's stocking feet, and it was kind of painful. And the kids and the adults as well, we would run away and hold our feet up so out of the puppy's reach. But Bill grabbed the puppy's ear and punched her in the face. And Bessie left Bill alone. Bill was the alpha of our pack. But Bill had a tender side too. He liked Barney the dinosaur. So young Bill, 9 to 10, was pretty much a normal kid. He looked up to his older brother Nick by 5 years, who was an avid skateboarder. Nick's friends would come over and practice with Nick in the driveway with half-concocted quarter pipes and ramps supported by the picnic table. And Bill and his neighborhood friend Brian would patiently watch and wait, sometimes for over an hour, not interrupting the older boys. Nick needed Bill to respect his space, because the young boys knew if they interrupted, the older boys would not spend time teaching them tricks until after the workout was done. This was the start of a brotherhood bonding. Bill and Nick would take their skateboards everywhere with them. I remember them practicing in a Reno hotel parking lot surrounded by snow-capped mountains. And I remember them coasting, doing a 2-mile winding run down the Red Rock Canyon. When Bill was in 10th grade, he became involved in the St. Mark Youth Group. The youth group would participate in week-long mission trips during the summer. Most of these trips included some sightseeing, some service work, and campfire entertainment in the evening. Greg and Sherry Hansen were the youth group directors. Shortly after their first mission trip, Greg mentioned to me in passing, and this is paraphrased, "Your son Bill did an amazing job on the mission trip." Now, I didn't know that Greg is playing guitar here today, so when I did this, I didn't realize he was going to be here, so he can fact check me. Yeah. So it is paraphrased, but he said, he worked hard on the service project. He was engaging to adults. He participated with great attitude in the after-hours gathering. Of course, Bill's real motive is he was looking for guitar tips while he was learning to play guitar. As Greg was telling me this, my subconscious was racing. I asked, who is he talking about? What did he do to my son? I've never noticed these encouraging signs before. So this actually became an epiphany for me, where I began to notice these things, that he was very helpful and becoming a young adult. My wife and I joked, where did we go right? In context to raising Bill. Of course, we joked, we experimented, made all our mistakes with the first two. Yeah. But a more serious analysis, it was his experience being part of many tribes with good people, which included Becky, our family daycare, generational daycare. I mean, she's got our grandkids now. Activities, playing soccer and snowboarding and wakeboarding. His neighbor and school friends. Scouts, he did a high adventure scuba trip to the Bahamas led by Kevin Prouty and Tim Adams. Our family MEA camping weekends with the Jacobsons. The many family vacations, the many trips to Michigan to see our family, or my family from Michigan, spending time with his God family in Green Bay. He had not only godparents, but God brothers and sisters and such. Photography, he was very interested in photography at work. They had groups that did that. With backpacking with friends, woodworking, watching his older brother and sister, youth group meetings, sticking with the love of his life, Nicole, for over half his life. He worked at Menards. his plumbing pointers have come in handy over the years, definitely. Yeah, many great college friends, including a fraternal experience with a group of housemates for a semester in Germany, including one of his closest best friends, Dan Cyberlick, who came to visit him, who's in Germany now. Going west with Nicole, making stuff, working on his Westby, and working at an awesome accounting firm. These many experiences over a short life attributed to his sound character, good nature, helpful, thoughtful, fun-loving self. It is a sad thing to lose such a promising young man. In closing, I just want to read a note that we received from his employer, I. Bailey, which I thought summed it up well. Bill touched the lives of so many at I. Bailey. What will be remembered, he will be remembered forever, his joyful and thoughtfulness to everyone. Bill was an amazing young man, and he will be missed. Wishing you peace, Bill's friends and colleagues of I. Bailey. And with that, may God bless you and our Bill. Amen.
Corey, Bill's sister, also wrote something that I'll share now. She writes, most people knew Bill was as a charismatic, fun guy who loved the outdoors and always showed up for everyone. I got the honor of sharing Bill's life as a sibling. And even though he was my younger brother, I truly believe he taught me more than I ever taught him. My early memories of Bill's loving light when he was just a toddler. I have a very vivid memory of him showering our mom in kisses over and over. His love was always expressive and full of light. As he grew older into a young child, he pushed boundaries I didn't realize could be pushed, like saying no to going to school. While that may have been a challenge at the time, even then I admired his courage and determination to follow his own path. In his early teen years, his silliness really stood out. He was always finding goofy games and bringing laughter to his friends. As he grew older, I watched him thrive in Boy Scouts and youth group at church, experiences that helped shape him into a thoughtful, grounded young man. Through those years, he also found young love with his future wife, Nicole. Bill was drawn to adventure. He surrounded himself with fun, positive people and took interest in some extreme sports. He endured a few injuries, so he fearlessly continued these adventures, always coming back with great stories. He also had a bold spirit when it came to food. I remember being so impressed when he completed the Blazin' Challenge at Buffalo Wild Wings. He was definitely the most adventurous eater in our family, though he eventually met his match with appreciation when Kent and Ty joined. Canoeing and kayaking were part of our lives from the beginning. Some of you may know the story of the time when he launched from a canoe like a catapult on a windy day as a young child. We've paddled through unexpected storms and visited the island on Clear Lake countless times. One of my favorite adventures was when he came to canoe with me and my family in Isanti. It was a dream of mine to paddle from Cambridge down to our backyard in Isanti, and Bill enthusiastically took the lead in the logistics to make it happen. It turned out to be an absolutely perfect day and a cherished memory. Bill was always ready to lend a hand. He became a go-to helper when my dad needed support with projects, and he grew into someone impressively handy himself. He stepped up to help many others too, including me with home repairs and improvements. He was a hard worker and was very responsible even in young adulthood. His first job, he followed in the footsteps of Big Brother Nick at Forest Lake Menard. Then he later found work as a bank teller. While working, he studied hard and graduated college very timely, even with a study abroad in Germany. Of course, he always found ways to find adventure and fun with Nicole and his friends in between the hard work. He then joined me working in public accounting, and he brought so much fun to our office. I continued to admire his light and enjoyed our extra time together, not just as a brother and coworker, but as one of my best friends. Throughout his cancer diagnosis and treatment, he was as courageous and determined as ever. He leveled up in his bowling game, backpacked the Superior hiking trail, and continued to seek adventure, work hard, and love his people dearly. As we grieve, I hold on to the words of Jesus, reminding us that this goodbye is not the end. Let us hear one of his favorite songs.
The kids are in town for a funeral, so pack the car and dry your eyes. I know they got plenty of young blood left in them, and plenty nights under pink skies you taught them to enjoy. So clean the house, clear the drawers, mop the floors, stand tall, like no one's ever been here before or at all. And don't you mention all the inches that are scraped on the door frame. We all know you tiptoed up to 4-1 back in the way. If you can see it now, you'd be proud, but you think days you'll be. The funeral was beautiful, I think I heard you coming. The kids are in town for a funeral, and the grass all smells the same as the day you broke your arm swinging on that kid out on the river. You bailed him out, never said a thing about Jesus or the way he's living. If you could see him now, you'd be proud, but you think days you'll leave. Your funeral was beautiful, I think I heard you coming. Kids are in town for a funeral, so pack the car and dry your eyes. I know they got plenty young blood left in them, and plenty nights under pink skies you taught them to enjoy.
Call your heads, erase the claim, like it against a red shotgun. Your pocket knife, it went missing, I think we know who got that one. You used to let her cut the ribbon on all of her own prisons. It made me nervous, but now I see We just taught different lessons.
At this time, I'd like to invite Brandon and Steve forward to share a few stories.
Hello, everybody. So, I'm Guitar Steve. My name is Stephen Burmel, and I've known Bill for about 7 years. While 7 years doesn't seem like a long time, and it certainly wasn't long enough. If time was measured in the depth of connection or importance of relationship, I feel like I've known Bill for my entire life. My friendship with Bill was deep. It was important, and it was impactful. When I met Bill, I was in the process of getting a divorce from my now ex-wife, and I was in an emotionally dark place. In my entire life, I had never been alone. I had always had somebody at home with me. After the divorce was settled, and when my kids were with their mother, for the first time in my life, I was truly and devastatingly alone. It was at a point where I actually feared going home because of that fear of the loneliness. This is when Bill came into my life. I met Bill at work at PWB, and from the moment we started to converse, we became friends. I honestly believe that he sensed that I needed him, and his kindness and caring compelled him to be there for me. Within about 6 months of us meeting each other, and with his support, I started to rock climb again, which I had stopped doing years before. He got me into mountain biking, and he got me into backpacking. Every night when I didn't have my children, and I was afraid of going home and being alone, Bill would suggest that we go climbing, hiking, or biking together. Because of his kindness and his willingness to spend time with me, I became physically and emotionally healthier. Bill's kindness saved me. But his kindness wasn't his only wonderful trait. He was one of the most amazing listeners that I have ever met. I remember in January of 2020, Bill and I decided we were going to go to Mount Bohemia snowboarding in the UP of Mission together. So we jumped into the car and drove 7.5 hours to Mount Bohemia. What Bill didn't know when he got into the car was that he would be subjected to a one-sided emotional dumping for the entire 7.5 hours. Not only was he stuck in the car with me, he was stuck listening to my entire life story from the moment I was born until the moment we got into the car together. He was literally a captive audience. This wasn't so much a conversation as it was a speech where I chronologically unloaded every life experience that I had ever had. Now put yourself in his shoes. Can you imagine being stuck in a car with somebody just spewing their life story out for 7.5 hours? If it were me, I think after about an hour, I would have jumped out of the moving vehicle. But not Bill. Not only did he not jump out of the moving vehicle, which is good because he was driving, but not once did he object to the speech. Not once did he try to take over the conversation and make it about himself. He just let me say what I needed to say. He nodded in acknowledgement and freely gave encouragement when it was needed. He was incredibly selfless. He was understanding, and I think he just knew I needed to say these words to heal. Now the reason I tell this story is because not only does it represent the significance of his presence in my life, but it is also the perfect example of who Bill was. He cared so much. He put other people's needs in front of his own, and he was just so good at listening to people. He gave his time, his compassion, and his love without any conditions or expectations. While the pain of his loss is overwhelming in this moment, I know that we all are better people because of him. That was his gift. He was such a wonderful person that he changed our views on everything. He showed us that wonderful people actually exist. While I could spend the next 7.5 hours talking about how amazing Bill was, I suspect that I would be stating the obvious, and everybody who knew him understands this. But, and to put it simply, Bill gave everything he was to everybody, and he meant everything to everybody because of it. We all love you, Bill, and we will until the day we meet again. Rest in peace and love, my friend.
Good afternoon. I first met Bill in the 6th grade at the after-school skateboarding club. The first thing I noticed was how boisterous and goofy he was, stuck out like a sore thumb. But I also noticed how he interacted with others. He interacted with everyone in an encouraging manner and was a teacher for those of us who had a lower skill level. He would go out of his way to help everyone who was there, whether he knew them or not. And I thought that was different from most people who were in kind of cliquey groups of 2 or 3. He was out mingling with everyone. His enthusiasm seemed otherworldly to me. Bill and I became close friends in short order, and we were pretty much inseparable for the next few years. We continued to be friends even when life took us in different directions as we got older. Bill to me exemplified living as his authentic self and treated everyone as if he saw a piece of himself in them. He made others feel seen and heard, and he helped people just by being himself. Bill and I were confirmed together at St. Mark's, and this is where we would first meet his future love, Nicole. The thing about living as your authentic self is it gives you a stronger sense of what is for you and what is not. Well, Bill knew right away that Nicole was for him. One of the very first classes, we were out in the parking lot skateboarding, waiting for our rides home, and he confided into me how instantly drawn to Nicole he was and how he wanted to pursue a romantic relationship with her. This was very shortly after meeting her, maybe 2 or 3 confirmation classes. Though they flitted around each other for some time, eventually Bill did get his wish, and the rest is history. I encourage all of you to follow Bill's lead. Live your life authentically. Don't shrink yourself to fit spaces. Don't follow the crowd. And most importantly, love others as if they are you in another costume. When you live this way, you give those around you permission to do the same, just as Bill did for all of us. I'd like to end with a quote from 13th century philosopher Rumi. "The soul does not vanish, it removes its costume, and steps into the place where there is no time, no fear, and no end. What looks like sunset is actually a dawn." Thank you.
I'd like to invite Nicole.
Is this on? I'm sorry, my mouth is so dry. First of all, Steve, I want you to feel validated. It wasn't just you who held someone captive in a car. It wasn't quite 7 hours, but I did hold Troy hostage from St. Cloud to my house. It was like an hour for counting roommate drama. And he acted encouragingly engaged and didn't drive off the road. I also would like to point out, he never mentioned that you held him hostage. He never said anything about that. So At least you know he wasn't like that traumatized. And I want to say you're welcome, because he had so much practice listening to me for so long that I think I helped in that situation. So yeah, you're welcome. I thought someone was giving me nothing. Hey, thank you everyone for coming today. It truly means everything. As I mentioned to part of the people in here, and now knowing that other people are in other rooms, please, I beg of you, if you haven't signed the guest book, please sign the guest book. I hand stamped that thing. You don't have to put your address in there, just record that you were here, please. Okay, that came from the heart because I started talking and I literally wrote, I beg of you, please do. My name is Nicole Alexander Bernardchuk. I am Bill's partner of 17 years. In all honesty, the only way I've been able to stand up here today and get any of the, in all honesty, the only way I've been able to stand up here today, knowing I planned a great funeral, is by pretending we saw it for Bill. For those of you who weren't at my grandma, grandpa, or mom's funeral, in my opinion, I'm usually really good at this. Got it. The difference is that during those losses, I had the resounding chorus in my heart. But at least I have Bill. Bill is all I need. And clearly, that's not possible here. I haven't been free to process, free to mourn, or free to express my thoughts, because this time, the only one keeping me together is me. He was way better at it than I am. I did my best in my current state, and if you know me at all, you know that I have a lot to say about something, and you'd best believe that sometimes it takes multiple occasions to get my thoughts out. So this is the best I could today. I had a really pretty black lace handkerchief, and now I'm using Albert the dog's handkerchief. It's just as meaningful. So there will be more to come. Which after this you're probably all like, girl, you don't need it anymore. Wait until I'm done. There are several true statements that I can say to you today about my existence on this earth as a whole. The fact that I love animals so much so that I kind of forget that you're there too. I accidentally bypass you completely to say hi to them instead. Sorry about that yesterday, Jane. And I wrote this before, and that did happen yesterday. That I can cry just from talking about How to Train Your Dragon. That I have at minimum 200 unread text messages at one time, because texting overwhelms me. Don't judge me. That podcasts are my personality. But most importantly, that I have had, maybe the black one wasn't enough, that I have had the very real and utter privilege of being completely loved, wholly and conditionally by two people, my mom Rebecca and by Bill Kampa. I recognize that some people aren't fortunate enough to feel loved for who they are no matter what. By one person, let alone two, but somehow I was incredibly lucky. I'm sorry, can you sit down because you feel like my mom and that made me sadder? I appreciate your support. You can't be too nice to me right now. Somehow I was incredibly lucky to have two separate humans love me as I am no matter what. I know I wrote it down. It's just not in the right order, I guess. As I'm trying to pinpoint the exact moment I knew I was interested in him, actually I'm scared I didn't write it down, so I'm just going to say, two separate humans who love me as I am no matter what. As someone who has been told that they are too much for people. My whole life, I somehow was just enough and just right for Bill. As I'm trying to pinpoint the exact moment I knew I was interested in him, I couldn't. The truth is, I can't. I really can't. It was everything. We were magnets drawn to each other time and time again, and our love was written in the stars. I can corroborate Brandon. Brandon Bentley shared that he was talking to Bill at one point after youth group, and he said he remembers Bill talking about me back in confirmation class. When I asked Bill about it a month ago, 2 months ago, he said, yeah. And I said, no, but you really did? And he said, yeah, it's a lifelong thing. I know I've spoken with friends and family over the years about how incredulous I am over the fact that we've never fallen out of love. There was never a question of whether we'd stay together in the future, of the trajectory of our lives, including one another. We both were living our existences with the solid and unwavering understanding that that was it for us. We choose each other. From the very beginning, Bill was ready and willing to be a part of my family, to join with the Trace Benarcheks, myself, Amanda, and my mom. He would come play guitar at the house. He would help take the garbage cans out, which my mom really loved and thanked him for over and over, even as a high schooler. He worked at Menards, sometimes not getting home until about 11 p.m., still having to go to school the next day, but would still somehow make time to come see me. It's triggering. I remember being in Miss Larson's geometry class watching him play with his tech deck. And then we'd get our test backs, and he would exclaim, oh, I got an A. Didn't even study. Where the night before I was sweating, trying so hard to understand what was happening. It was not my experience. We had a few false starts where we could have ended up dating each other, and it didn't work out. But then we reconnected at a ski club outing, thanks to Madison Anderson bringing me along, and Brandon Bentley for including me in conversation. It was a little awkward talking to Bill at first because I had basically broken his heart the year before, but we fell back into conversation and became best friends. We talked on the phone. He'd need to wait for me to call him after my mom went to sleep from the house phone. My mom didn't fall asleep, but you know what I meant. We would talk for hours. Our first mission trip. After being so scared to go on a trip to the point where my mom wrote me a card every day, thank you Cindy Hughesby for delivering my Adderall in my card every morning. Sorry, that's a little unnecessary. That trip changed my life. I went from not really knowing people and being scared to making lifelong friendships and falling in love with a boy who would become my future husband. But even if we hadn't gotten married, you don't have to be married to have a partnership. That counts. My favorite thing has always been stars. My favorite shape of triangle. My favorite letter Q. I'm pausing because I'm going to cry now because I need you all to remember that. The idea of him being in the stars is painful but meaningful at the same time. I see my mom as light, a shining presence. The warmth, the comfort, brings the brightness. And now I'll see Bill as light too. The illumination, the beauty, the comfort of being constant with the mood for company. The things he taught me were innumerable, and the ways in which he changed me are immeasurable. See, I did write into too much, but I was scared. If Bill knew something would make people laugh, he'd go for it. There was one mission trip, I actually just saw the aftermath, where he took his jeans and with a shovel cut them into jorts. And then on that trip, he took a picture with me, and he has not changed his profile picture since, like 2012. The jorts really were meaningful. He'd wear a fanny pack with loose trail mix inside and offer it to people at galleries. Always accompanied with and say, do you guys want a snack? I have some trail mix. And that's not like family events, that was like Oktoberfest. He would do this with strangers. He loved making other people happy. I personally believe he loved the outward expression that the person was enjoying his company, that he wasn't a burden. But also, he loved to laugh, so why wouldn't he try to grant the same thing to whoever he was with? Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that page. I've always recognized, always seen, always appreciated the person Bill is. I've always considered him to be truly an outlier. In conversations, people would say, and then my partner just leaves the dishes wherever. I have to nag them. Like, how hard is it to put them in the dishwasher? And there I'm sitting, sliding the pile of dishes out of view that I left behind. I go, yeah, totally, it's not that hard. The best time of my life was the 11 months we had together where we lived just the two of us in our apartment in Golden Valley. That's the only time we ever have lived just us. I remember being so astonished at so many of his actions. The garbage is full, he takes the garbage, ties the bag, and brings it to the garbage can outside, like right away, across the parking lot. He didn't leave it at the top of the stairs to take out with you the next time you go outside because then you're doing it in one trip. That makes sense. No, he would take care of things. He doesn't like to waste food. We'd found ways to add them into recipes where I'd be like, who cares about that cilantro? And he's like, no, we could add it to our macaroni and cheese. We were creative with our cooking and actually planned meals, which was a new experience for me. The heartwarming thing for me is realizing where these habits came from. After moving in with Diane and Glenn this summer, they take the garbage out too, right away. I noticed every time. They rearrange their fridge better to see what needs to be eaten. So like I would go for something and be like, oh, the pot it's in the, but that one, what? And so we'd eat and then they bring it forward so that we're eating all of our food. It's honestly brilliant and everyone else should do it. I highly recommend. These are clearly things that stuck with Bill, where as an adult fully capable of doing whatever he wanted to choose, he chose those routines. I see so much of him in all of you, and so much of you in all of him. And I said that how I wanted to. He is the best parts of every person that ever mattered to him. We filled in the gaps for each other, or at least he did for me. Okay, this is gonna get tough. Look away. Yeah, it is. Watching his relationship with my sister, the start of a fun big brother, to the deep connection of actually feeling like she had a big brother, someone we could rely on, a male figure that wouldn't snap at her, wouldn't make her feel bad about herself, that shows up, that listens, that encourages her. And then I had to stop because it was too hard. So you get the gist. You don't need to be blood related to Bill to have a connection that could mean more to you than your own family members do. And that goes for multiple people in this room. Sorry, that isn't the microphone. I've never known how I deserved him, or how I was able to keep him. And I would only marvel that he continued to want to be with me. We learned how the other person communicates. It honestly took like 6 years, but listen, we started dating when we were 16. 15 and 16, so no, 16 and 7. Listen, we started dating July 2008, July 8th, 2008. And then my birthday was July 21st, so there was like a brief period where I was 15 and he was 17, but then I was 16 and he was 17. Details matter, people. We learned how to trust each other, and we learned what to let go of. If it didn't really matter, if it wasn't going to harm him in any way, he would let it go. I'd ask, are you mad? And he'd say something along the lines of, why would I be? How does that help anything? Would that get annoying when I wanted him to stand up for himself? Yes. Ultimately, that was his own choice. And then I secretly was like, wow, that's actually a really good idea. I should try to do that. I'm pretty sure I ended with a different quote, but this is where we're at. In the words of, well, no, sorry. I want this quote. I think I had something later. It doesn't. There's ADHD in real life, people. In the words of John Green, John Green, an author of the incredible book Looking for Alaska, read it. We need never be hopeless because we can never be irreparably broken. I love you now. I love you then, and I'll love you forever, Bill. It's a lifelong thing for me too. May we meet again. I didn't say a single thing about Gus, but he was a really good cat dad.
And it's beautiful. Let's hear another song. Well, I don't know what better to say. It's really easy to see how loved Bill was. From the gathering of people in this room, to those down the hallway, to those on the live stream, to the stories that have been shared, it's easy to know and have heard and have experienced the love that Bill had for all of you. The ways in which he showed up to be present in your lives. The way that he had a calming presence, a listening ear in the midst of turmoil and uncertainty. The way that he could stand beside you and make you feel better just by having him there. Having him there. In good times and in hard times, it's really easy to know that Bill was just simply a good guy. A good son, a good brother, a good friend, a good boyfriend, fiance, and husband. All of that together makes it really hard to lose him so soon and in the manner in which he left us. That's much more difficult to comprehend and navigate. Death and grief are hard things, and yet they are the reality in which we live in. And yet, love remains. Love shared never truly dies. It doesn't depart from us. It simply changes how we experience it. It changes how it moves in us, how it strengthens us, how it supports us, how it shows up when we least expect it and shows up even more powerfully when we need it the most. The love that Bill embodied in so many ways, in the variety and in the times and the places and the lives of all of you, that same love continues. Not just because Bill is gone, but Bill showed us in his actions the kind of love that God has for each of us. Selfless, compassionate, showing up, sharing the gifts we have, being love for one another. The Apostle Paul, when he writes to the Corinthian church in 1 Corinthians 13, which is often used at weddings, that fits really well in how we talk about our experiences of Bill. This is what the Apostle Paul writes. He says, "Love never gives up. It cares more for others than itself. It doesn't want what it doesn't have. It doesn't strut. It doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others. It isn't always me first. It doesn't fly off the handle. It doesn't keep score of the sins of others. It doesn't revel when others grovel. It takes pleasure in the flowering truth. It puts up with all things. It trusts God always. Always looks for the best, never looks back, but keeps going to the end. Love never dies. Love is the way in which we move forward in this time and place. We hold to each other, we hold to the stories, we try to share in the laughter, and we allow that to be the life preserver that keeps us going. I heard it say once in explaining what grief feels like, it's like you're in like you are in a shipwreck. And you are tossed overboard into the ocean. The waves are crashing about you. There's things flying everywhere, and you are grabbing at everything possible and holding tight to it, trying to find your way to the surface to take a breath. But as you do that, the wave crashes again and again and again. And so you feel as if life can no longer go. But soon enough, you start to see the waves that there's a pattern. And so you know when you come up, you need to take a quick breath before you are pushed under again. Slowly that pattern becomes more steady, and you start to realize that all these things that you've gathered, you don't need them any longer because you know what that love looks like. So the waves continue with grief, the worries and the fears and all of that continue, but you learn how to ride the wave. You learn how to see it coming and know what to do. You know to take a breath, to exhale, to let go, to hold a hand, and to ride the wave. Love helps us do that. The love that Bill poured into all of your lives, the love that God continues to pour into your lives to bring people to your side, to bring hope, to live in the light that Bill continues to shine in our lives. Thanks be to God. Amen. Let's now commend Bill to our loving God, who is with us always, was with Bill from the very beginning, and now Bill rests with him eternally. So let us pray. Into your hands, O merciful Savior, we commend your beloved child, William Donald Kampa. You formed him in love, you cherished him in life, and now you welcome him home. We give you thanks for the gift of his days among us, for laughter shared and burdens carried, for kindness offered and wisdom spoken, for the ways his presence revealed your grace. Receive Bill into your arms of mercy, into the blessed rest of everlasting peace, and into the radiant company of all your saints. And Lord God, bless us who remain. Comfort us in our sorrow, lift our eyes to the promise of resurrection, and set our hearts ablaze with love, that we may carry forward the light we received from Bill, until that day when we too shall see you face to face, and know fully the joy of your eternal embrace. Amen. One brief addition to things that will be taking place after the service. You'll notice out in the gathering space, just outside of the sanctuary, that there is a poster that we're inviting everyone to draw hearts on as a symbol of the love that Bill shared, but the love that continues in this gathered community. And then there are blue cards that are around the building. You're encouraged to write a story that can go into the box for the family to continue to share those memories. And so please take time to do those things. And as Nicole said, sign the guest book. Okay?
If you want to take a blue card, home with you. If now it's too much pressure, just write me to that.
If you need more time, time will be available. But thank you again for being here. After we sing our sending song, I'll Fly Away, you'll be invited down the hall where there are refreshments, coffee, lemonade, and food. And please continue the storytelling. Greg, would you like to have some singers join you? Youth group folks? Great. Yeah. All right. The words for I'll Fly Away will be up on the screen, and we invite you all to sing along with us. Congregation, let's stand.
And special thanks to
I'm trying to get my counted in this. I have to tell you one short story about Bill. On mission trip on the last night. On mission trips on the last night. Hello. On mission trips on the last night, the kids would all stay up all night. And some of us had to actually drive the van. So on one that in particular, I'm sleeping in another room. And I wake up at like 6 in the morning. We had to leave pretty early with Bill's face that far from my nose saying, "Rise and shine, you people."